All right, today we're diving into a topic that can feel pretty overwhelming, post-divorce financial forensics. It's a complex world for sure, but don't worry, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know when life changes after a divorce decree is signed. Our goal here is to turn all that complexity into a clear, actionable guide. So let's start with the biggest question of all, the one that's at the heart of this entire explainer. You have a court order, a judgment. It's supposed to be the end of the road, right? But is that final document truly set in stone? Well, the short answer is no. And understanding why it isn't final is the very first step to making a change when you really need one. Which brings us right to our first key idea. When final isn't final. You see? The legal system gets it. Life doesn't just stand still. Incomes go up or down, a child's needs evolve, and what was totally fair one year might be completely unworkable the next. And the court's tool for dealing with this reality? It's called a modification. What's so interesting here is that this slide basically boils the entire legal process down to two fundamental questions a judge is going to ask. This isn't about relitigating the past or refighting old battles. It's all about presenting a clear, factual case that, hey, either something meaningful has changed or the original information the court had was just plain wrong. Your entire case is going to be built on answering one of these two questions. So let's be really clear about what the mission is here. All the digging, all the investigation, every single document you find, it all serves one simple purpose. You're trying to turn all those clues and files into a single, powerful outcome, a convincing, documented yes to one of those critical questions. That's the goal. And that brings us to the mission itself, proving change. Now, this isn't about feelings or opinions or what you think is fair. It's about meeting a very specific legal standard. It's about translating real-life events into the language the court understands and, most importantly, accepts as proof. And here it is. This is the key legal phrase you've got to know. Material change in circumstances. Let's just break that down real quick. Substantial means it's a big deal, not some minor little fluctuation. Ongoing means it's not just a temporary blip on the radar. And material means it directly impacts the child or the original order. You have to prove all three of those things. So what does a material change actually look like in the real world? Well, here are some of the most common triggers. A huge promotion or maybe an involuntary job loss. That's a substantial income change. A new medical diagnosis for a child, that's an ongoing change in their needs. These are the kinds of concrete events that meet that legal standard and can open the door for a modification. Okay, but how do you actually prove one of these things happened? You need a method. I like to think of it as a forensic toolkit. And that toolkit is built on a really simple but powerful framework, the 3 pillars of proof. This is how you organize your evidence so it tells a clear, compelling story. And here they are, beautifully laid out. Pillar 1 is all about defining your starting point. What did the financial world look like then, at the time of the last order? Pillar 2 is about documenting the complete picture of how things are right now. And the most critical step, Pillar 3, is presenting that clear, documented gap between the two. Then versus now. Which leads us to the fun part, the detective work, finding the financial clues. How do you actually find the proof you need to build pillars 2 and 3? This is where financial forensics gets really interesting, because the clues you're looking for are rarely just sitting there on the surface. And this slide shows the classic contradiction that forensic experts are always looking for. You've got someone claiming their income has gone way down, but at the same time, their spending on vacations, new cars, and fancy dinners has gone way up. The numbers just don't lie. As they say, lifestyle is a whole lot harder to hide than income. And here are some of those common red flags you might see. Someone says, I lost my job, but their Venmo history is just filled with payments from clients. Or they say, my business is failing, right as a new, nearly identical company pops up under their new partner's name. See? These are the clues that tell the real story behind the official one. And let's be real, income today comes from so many different places. It's not just about a W-2 from a 9-to-5 job anymore. We're talking about side hustles on gig apps like Uber or DoorDash, sales on Facebook Marketplace, and direct payments through apps like Venmo and Cash App. Heck, even a new partner who starts covering all the bills. Well, that effectively frees up a huge amount of disposable income that wasn't there before. So, you've found the clues. You've gathered the evidence. Now what? Well, now you have to assemble it all into a compelling argument that a judge can easily understand and, more importantly, act on. This is what we call the judge-friendly formula, and you can see how it builds directly on our 3 pillars. You present the picture then, that's pillar 1, then the picture now, pillar 2, and the difference, that's pillar 3. But then you add the most crucial step, explaining exactly how this financial gap impacts the child. That final step is what turns your financial evidence into a truly compelling legal argument. And this, right here, illustrates the incredible power of clear visuals. An exhibit like this tells a story in seconds. A judge can immediately see the income at the time of the divorce, the new documented income, and then bam, that huge gap representing all that undisclosed side hustle money. This one simple chart is way more powerful than 100 pages of bank statements. Now, just as important as what you do is what you don't do. Look, don't rely on accusations without proof. The court wants facts, not your opinion on fairness. Don't just dump a mountain of disorganized documents. You have to guide the judge through a clear story. And most importantly, never, ever forget to connect every dollar back to the child's needs. That is the entire legal basis for your case. So the crucial takeaway here is this. Your entire goal throughout this process is to create clarity out of chaos. You're taking this messy, confusing pile of financial data and you're distilling it into a simple, powerful, and truthful story that a judge can look at and understand in just a few minutes. Which leaves us with one final, really essential question. When you strip away all the history and all the emotion, when you look purely at the documented facts and the actual flow of money, what story do the numbers really tell?